Good evening, everyone. It is currently like 12:50 p.m. I'm headed to the gym. As you guys can see, I have a weird caffeine addiction. Otherwise, as you guys know, health is more important than money. You could have so much money and so much wealth, but if your health is not there, then does it really matter? So just word of motivation and some support for all you guys. Get out there, be active, stay fit. Doesn't matter how old you are. Priorities set the tone. If you want to do it, you can do it. If you don't want to, you don't want to. I don't want to hear the excuse you don't have time. If you want to be fit and you want to be active and you want to be healthy, go out there, lift, work out, go on the treadmill, get active. It's all about priorities. If you want to value your health, you will make time for it no matter what. If you want to just watch TV on a Sunday or a Saturday and drink, you could do that, but it's all about your priorities. Priorities, priorities, priorities. If you want it, you will make time for it. And that goes with business too. If you want to make money and you want to start a business and you want to be successful, you have to dedicate time and consistency to it, and that's how you will see growth. It's not short term, it's a long-term plan, and it's a long-term investment for your future. Otherwise, let's move on with today's episode. What's going on, guys? I am currently at work, working until like 8, so I apologize if this video goes out late about the technical analysis. Yes, I'm home for college, so I do have a part-time job when I'm home just to get some extra cash for college spending. I work at the smoothie bar at my gym. It's just a fun, convenient way. I'm friends with the boss, so it's an easy way. When I come back, I can work really quick, but that is pretty much a heads up as to where I work. I make smoothies, pretty fun, nothing too crazy, but I guess I could just show you really quick. It's just something I do for fun while I'm home. This way I'm in a constant positive surrounding. Hopefully you guys know when you're at the gym, it's probably the #1 and only place like there is where everybody is trying to self-improve themselves. That's why I love coming here and watching and hanging out with people that only want to make positive goals in their life. So I definitely recommend joining a gym and making a difference for yourself and others. What is going on, YouTube? Hayden back, making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we'll be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as XLM, Stellar Lumens to Bitcoin. As always, if you guys are new to the channel and want to see more, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up if you want to see more content. Otherwise, let's move on with today's episode. So we have a couple things to look at on today's episode. We do have the coin market cap pulled up, and I do have an article that I do want to show you guys. Yesterday we talked about whether or not crypto is in a bubble formation or starting to form into some sort of bubble, or just popped and is coming out of one. We did look at a different kind of chart that showed some depression within the markets, and I do think this article kind of highlights a couple of those things, so I do want to get into that with you guys, as well as showing you guys the technical analysis aspect of this channel and showing you guys where I am finding some key support lines that we are holding fairly true to as we continue to see bearish, bloody market levels. So we are on the coin market cap, as you guys saw, and we have a current market cap of 124.8 billion with a 24-hour volume of 14.1 billion and a Bitcoin dominance of 53.8. So we see that slightly increasing from yesterday compared to its 24-hour movement. And we can see an ever so slight increase in the 24-hour volume, up around $1 billion compared to yesterday, being added to exchanges across the globe and the market. Then you can see market cap is 124.8. I believe we were at around 140 yesterday. So you can see we've seen around $16 billion leave the exchanges overnight, which is actually quite wild. And you can see how the coins reflect that in their prices. You can see in the 24-hour change, we've seen a depreciative of around double digits all across the board. There are some coins that do seem to be doing quite well in markets like this, but for the most part, we're seeing a lot of bloody red numbers. You can see most of the market, the top 10 coins, are all down double digits, which I know a lot of you guys do not want to see, but it is something that we do have to discuss and talk about because it does happen, and we have to leave emotion out of the graphs when we do look at them. You can see Bitcoin is down 11.8%. Bitcoin is at $3,800, which is absolutely wild that we've seen cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, drop below 4,000. I know a lot of people were not seeing that. It was very unforeseen. XRP at 36 cents, down 12%. They're all down fairly low. You can see Monero down 14, Litecoin down 10.5. Literally just broke $30, now at 29. So a lot of people were not anticipating that, but we are seeing that. The interesting thing is cryptocurrency isn't the only market that is struggling right now. We are seeing the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones down ever so slightly, as well as silver and gold are also down on those charts. So it's not to say that correlation is causation, but they all seem to be down at the very same time, at the same time. It could have to do with different interest rates that the federal government is changing and tweaking. I know Dave C reported that to us in the comments and sent that to me. But I do have an article that I did want to show you guys. And it is CCN Crypto Coin News. I'm just going to make that assumption. It says, newsflash, Bitcoin price plummets to $37.55 to set another yearly low. As you guys can see in the picture, it is somebody popping a bubble. So is this a bubble? It's definitely a very tough question to ask. I know a lot of media is definitely overhyping this and really pushing that price down. And a lot of the weak hands are selling off their share. You can see Bitcoin price on Saturday dove below $4,000 mark for the first time in 2018, forcing the flagship crypto to a new yearly low. Technical analysts had predicted that further losses awaited Bitcoin over the weekend, and those bearish forecasts were proven correct. After extending as high as 43.70 in the early morning hours, the Bitcoin price spent the majority of the remainder of the day on a gradual decline, which we're seeing very, 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 very low volume we are seeing within the markets. You can see only 14 billion in volume, and you can see very, very, very low volume across the board. Litecoin only has 411 million, which we have seen fairly lower than that. Usually when the coin is stable, we're seeing it at 300 million, but it seems to be up around 100 million in terms of volume. Otherwise, the markets do just seem to be trading out sideways. This was a very short article, but I did want to raise that to your guys' attention. What I really wanted to focus on are the 3 coins as well as Stellar Lumens. And I'm actually going to start with Stellar Lumens this time around. And I know a lot of you guys have commented on that. Hopefully you guys saw the poll that I posted earlier today. I appreciated all you guys' comments. Obviously, we do seem to have a huge Litecoin fan base, so I am going to wrap today's episode around Litecoin. Referring to XLM or Stellar Lumens, a very interesting chain of events did happen. We did seem to have some sort of Elliott wave formation on the graph. I'll pull up the relative strength index. You can see that we fell to a low of basically an Elliott wave has 5 points of contact, whether you want it to be A, B, C, D, E, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see we have A, B, C, D, E, or sorry, A, B, C, D, E, or it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have explained numerous times over and over on this channel that when we reach a point of 4, we are due to pull back. And it was very interesting. We are looking at XLM on the weekly. We saw a break above the downtrend that we have drawn. You can see that we have a very, very, very strong downtrend in yellow that we drew. And you can see we have faced numerous resistance at 1, 2, 3 points of contact. You can see we retraced fairly low, and it seems like this coin is now heading to number 5. So what I would like to say for Litecoin and the rest of the market is whether XLM is following Litecoin or Bitcoin, or whether the Litecoin and Bitcoin prices are following XLM. I would like to use XLM to graph the remainder of these next couple of weeks as a way to reference and cross map the price correlation. Whether or not it is exactly correlated with Litecoin and Bitcoin, the market does seem to be following XLM fairly strong. So we are seeing a pullback down. You can see we're currently facing some sort of resistance down here, or sorry, some sort of support. But even with that, I do think prices are going to fall lower. And I know that is an unfortunate thing to say, but I don't think this is over yet. So probably not the most anticipated or hyped up episode that I'm going to make on this channel. But you can see we are most indefinitely going to fall to levels much lower than where we currently are now based off of XLM's price. You can see it definitely has a ways to go until we get to point number 5 before we can see any sort of correction or break to the upside. We do need to follow this out fairly long. And how this portrays or crosses over to Litecoin is you can see Litecoin, now we're on the daily, so we're zoomed in 7 days. You can see how on the daily we do seem to be following this support line on the way down. It's a downtrend that we seem to have broken out of, like we talked about previously, and we're now trading above it and using this as a support to ride it lower. It It's very interesting because we are still extremely oversold, trading at 20 on the relative strength index, so we do have a fair ways to go down. It's very interesting to see that, but they all seem to be following the lines that we have drawn together for fairly well. They're not really going off target or off track. They are seemingly following this to a great extent. You can see we are headed straight down here. You can see, yes, there is some play right here, but it does seem for the most part to be following this down to whatever levels it's planning on going to. And unfortunately, we could see levels much lower than this due to the fact that if we base this on XLM and Stellar Lumens, it may continue to go lower. So to put that into perspective, pulling up Litecoin on its weekly and zooming out, you can see where it could potentially head to. We could draw some sort of support. You can see price levels are currently right here, $29. It could fall, as low as, $10, $4. I know a lot of people, Bitcoin Overdose was referencing $4 as a support, and he's not wrong. That is a huge support, $4. It is very possible, though, that we will see some sort of support or resistance at $17.20. And like I said, if this does hold true and we do break bullish from this massive descending triangle that's forming, it could be the biggest bull run, in history. Who's to say it won't happen? But we are going to have to play the devil's advocate and follow this down to lower levels. And if we do see, you can see we're also dipping into oversold on Litecoin's weekly, which we have not done in months. You can see the closest we've come was all the way back in December of 2016, and we are a ways ahead from that. So you can see almost 3 years later, now we're seemingly finding a way to retest our downtrend. We have yet to break the resistance, though, or this bottom support for being oversold, but we are getting fairly close to it. Moving on to Bitcoin, you can see Bitcoin is finding a support. It is extremely oversold on its 4 hour, so we may see some sort of small correction in the short term, but we are trading at 36.25. That's where that bottom support was, and you can see we're currently retracing back up, correcting back up to higher levels, and I do think we will continue to slightly move back up, maybe near $4,000. Break $4,000 is very possible. You can see we've retested that before those previous wicks, but we are extremely oversold on Bitcoin, so a slight correction or pullback is definitely needed for this market. It is way too exhausted and oversold, and I do think prices moving up are definitely due to happen and are right around the corner. Moving on to Ethereum. Ethereum does seem to be having a very similar pattern like we have discussed in the past, week or two. We broke we tested a resistance at around $217. Basically, this downtrend right here, still below our high-low MMA. You can see this green and red band, but you can see pretty much what I've been calling every single day for Ethereum is we do plan on pulling to a level kind of close to that $97, $100 region. We're currently trading at $108.76, but a pullback down to around $100 does seem to be, or $97 does seem to be Ethereum's best bet. That's where it's headed for. And then I do think that's going to be as low as it goes for the current moment. And I do think we're going to see sideways trading up until around December 27th. So that's around 2 weeks, I believe, or actually a full month. We have around 4 weeks, a little over 4 weeks of sideways trading before we retest this downtrend once again. Lastly, to sum this up, we talked about Stellar Lumens XLM in the beginning of the episode and how they could be cross-referenced with Litecoin, but you can see we are pulling back down right now, falling 2 levels. Pretty darn low. This is Litecoin, this is Stellar Lumens to Bitcoin, so I don't know the exact USD amount, but we are trading pretty low, 0.0003732 if you wanted to be exact, or around that region. And I do think we are headed for number 5. So to draw this out in paint, you can see some sort of correction like this is where I'm anticipating, and we could see a correction back upwards and, a breakout to the upside, which I know everybody's looking for, or to play the devil's advocate, we could see a fallback and we could head lower. It's definitely very viable and very possible. So we definitely have to be conservative in this point in time. Keep holding on to whatever you have invested. If you invested way back when Litecoin was up at levels of $400, $350. Definitely doesn't make sense to sell at a loss now. You might as well ride it out, whether it's to zero or whether it's back up to 200. But we have seen highs and lows numerous times within the market. We're currently back down to 2880. We've seen numerous highs and lows within the market, and it doesn't make sense to sell off now because, you know, when there's a lot of fear and anger in the market, it's a really good buying opportunity for a lot of investors to buy back in because eventually they know they're going to ride that wave back up. So you're better off just holding off and waiting until we see some sort of uptrend swing and at least, you know, deviate your portfolio so that you don't just have a buying level set at $300 where you currently bought it at. You know, you can buy it at $100 and you can deviate the middle, that you could break your you know, your net profit at around like $150, $200 instead of it just being at $300. So you definitely, I forgot exactly what it's called, but I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to correct me on that. But that pretty much is going to wrap up today's episode. Hopefully that answered a lot of you guys' questions. Thank you for answering the poll in this morning's community tab. But otherwise, make sure to subscribe, like the channel, turn on post notifications, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode. Peace.